all Kirtan. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, welcome all of you. Today we are going to discuss the verse number 28. So, the flow chart is like this. The first canto, 10th chapter, it is talking about departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarka. So we are here, verse number 20 and 30. This is talks of ladies of Hastinapura. And here 26 to 30, Yadu dynasty, Mathura, Dwarka queens and gopis are all glorious. So this Dwarka, Madhura, these are very famous places till today also. So before actually the Lord departs for Dwarka, and he spends some time with all the Pandavas and other women. And the women, they started glorifying the Supreme Lord because he made Kurukshetra a grand success, leaving the Pandavas, victorious. Moving forward to these words, we'll talk about Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Naraskrutyam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devin Saraswatin Vyasam Tado Jayam Budirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Buttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langaite Girim Etripatva Mahamande Siguru Tinataramam Paramananda Madhavam. If anybody is ready, they can repeat after me. Nunam Vratasnanam Huta Dineshwaraha Samarchito hi Asya Grihita Panibi Pibantiya Shaki Adharamrutam Muhur Vrajastriya Sammuhur Yadashayaha. Anybody would like to recite? Can you able to see? Hare Krishna. Anybody would like to repeat? Read out the words.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Nunam Vrata Snana Hotadineshwaraha Samarchito Hai Asya Kriyata Panibh. Panibi. Pibantiya Saki Adharam Tram Muhur Vraja Srihan Sammu Muhur Yad Asaya. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Vasudev Prabhu. So, word meaning translation purport by Stephen Gracie Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Synonyms: Nunam, certainly in the previous part. Vrata, vow, snana, bath, huta, sacrifice in the fire. Adina, by all this. Ishvara, the personality of Godhead. Samarchitaha, perfectly worshipped. He certainly. Ashya, his grihita panibi, by the married wives. Pibanti, religious, yeah, those who Shaki, O friend, Adharamrutam, the nectar from his lips, Muhu again and again, Vrajastriyaha, the damsels of Vrajabhumi, some Muhu often fainted, Yatashayaha, expecting to be favored in that way. Translation, O friends, just think of his wives, whose hands he has accepted, how they must have undergone vows, baths, fire sacrifices, and perfect worship of the Lord of the universe, to constantly relish now the nectar from his lips by kissing. The damsels of Rajabhumi would often faint just by expecting such favors. Purport. Religious rites prescribed in the scriptures are meant to purify the mundane qualities of the conditioned souls, to enable them to be gradually promoted to the stage of rendering transcendental service unto the Supreme Lord. Attainment of this stage of pure spiritual life is the highest perfection, and this stage is called Swarupa, or the factual identity of the living being. Liberation means renovation of this stage of Swarupa. In that perfect stage of Swarupa, the living being is established in 5 phases of loving service, one of which is the stage of Madhurya Rasa, or the humor of conjugal love. The Lord is always perfect in himself, and thus he has no hankering for himself. He, however, becomes a master, a friend, a son, or a husband to fulfill the intense love of the devotee concerned. Herein, 2 classes of the devotees of the Lord are mentioned in the stage of conjugal love. One is Swakiya and the other is Parakiya. Both of them are in conjugal love with the personality of Godhead Krishna. The kings at Dwaraka were Swakiya, or duly married wives, but the damsels of Raja were young friends of the Lord while he was unmarried. The Lord stayed at Vrindavana till the age of 16, and his friendly relations with the neighboring girls were in terms of parakiya. These girls, as well as the queens, underwent severe penances by taking vows, bathing, and offering sacrifices in the fire, as prescribed in the scriptures. The rites, as they are not an end in themselves, nor are fruitive action, culture of knowledge, or perfection in mystic powers ends in themselves. They are all means to attain the highest stage of Swarupa, to render constitutional transcendental service to the Lord. Each and every living being has his individual position in one of the above mentioned 5 different kinds of reciprocating means with the Lord. And in one's pure spiritual form of Swarupa, the relation becomes manifest without mundane affinity. The kissing of the Lord, either by his wives or his young girlfriends who aspire to have the Lord as their fiancé, is not of any mundane perverted quality. Had such things been mundane, a liberated soul like Sukadeva would not have taken the trouble to release them, nor would Sri Chaitanya, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, have been inclined to participate in those subjects after renouncing worldly life. The stage is earned after many lives of penance. Om Tat Sat. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnana Shalakaya Chakshmarum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Utapatagamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamcha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunadanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Cha Vishakhanvitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastume तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So these words, the ladies of Hastinapura, they have been relishing so much love and affection for the Lord because Lord is going to leave them. So, however, whatever they heard, whatever they think about the Lord, and they are expressing their love and affection. So they say, "Oh, friends, just think of his wives," means the Supreme Lord Krishna's wives, whose hands he has accepted, how they must have undergone vows, baths, and fire sacrifices. So they are thinking that how fortunate his wives and how very lovable his damsels in Vrajabhumi, because in the previous birth they would have done so much penances, then only the Supreme Lord can able to have his personal association with them. So Krishna is also called Makanchor, right? Makanchor in the sense it is he is very expert in stealing butter, and also he distributes the butter to the monkeys, his friends, Gopabais. So the Lord here, uh, he knows that these particular gopis, they were churning the butter only for Krishna's sake. And these gopis also internally they are inviting Krishna into their hearts and their homes, but externally they are churning the butter. It's not for Krishna, but for our own purpose. So, Supreme Lord, being Paramatma of every living entity, he knows the mood of the gopis and he acts accordingly. And particularly, he comes to that particular gopis house and he steals the butter. So why stealing the butter? Because Yashoda Mataji is giving buckets and buckets of butter. Then why does he want to steal from other houses? So this become very interesting topic, subject matter, especially for Mother Yashoda. Why my Kana he steals from other house? Actually, I don't believe all these things because he has got enough of butter here. Where does he go? And this is the Mother Yashoda, he was thinking like that. But Krishna, so Krishna's thinking is that these gopis, they are very, very dedicated to me. And 24 bar 7, they think of me. And why don't I go there? Actually, when Krishna steals the butter, he not only steals the butter, but he steals the hearts of the gopis, and thereby these gopis will be completely absorbed in his loving service. So gopis butter is much more tastier than butter at home, which Mother Yashoda makes it. So this is a kind of parakiya rasa. So there are five transcendental rasas or mellows. Instant stage is called Shantarasa, wherein one who is liberated from material contamination, he appreciates the greatness, the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So one who attains this stage does not exactly engage in transcendental loving service of the Lord, because this is called a neutral state. So even the ecstasy of transcendental love has again divided into two components: the context and the cause of excitement. So Krishna, he is the object. The exchange of devotional service is the subject. In this way, the five rasas have been very nicely elaborated by all the previous acharyas. So not only these five, there are some secondary rasas also are there. Maybe I take little time to discuss, these five rasas. So the five rasas, one who attains the stage does not, who is in the neutral state, he is called in a Shantarasa. And he is not completely absorbed in the service of the Lord, but he has to, transcend to the next stage. So this is the second stage, which is called Dasya Rasa. A person appreciates Krishna's position, is being, everlastingly subordinate to the Supreme Lord. And he understands that he is eternally dependent on the Supreme Lord's and his mercy and his favor. At that time, there is an awakening of neutral affection, such as felt by a son uh, uh, who grows up and begins appreciates his father's benediction, because father, he knows what the child wants, and when the child reaching certain stage, the father facilitates him accordingly. Okay. So at this stage, the living entity wants to serve the Supreme Lord instead of serving Maya illusion. So the third stage is transcendental loving service of Sakhya Rasa. There is a friendship with the Lord. In this stage, one associates with the Supreme as a friend on an equal level with love and respect. At this stage is further developed. There is a joking relationship and also relaxed exchange of laughing, walking, dancing, etc. On this level, there are fraternal exchanges also. So at this stage, one forgets his inferior position as living entity. But at the same time, he has the greatest respect for the Supreme Person. This is called uh, Sakhya Rasa. So in the fourth stage called Vachalya Rasa, the fraternal affection of the preceding stage develops into parental affection. At this time, the living entity acts as the parent of God. So becoming father of a God is not a ordinary thing, or become a mother of the Lord is also not ordinary thing. But the Lord allows the living entity to become so, because these devotees, they have certain desire that they wanted to love the Supreme Lord. They want to treat him as their own son. So this Vachala Rasa, the Lord, allows to enjoy the living entity, because he is the Supreme Lord. He cannot be a son of anybody. But however, he fulfilled the desires of these devotees. So, all that stage, the Lord depends on the mercy of his pure devotee and put himself under the control of the devotee to be raised nicely by the parents. For example, Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, etc. Such a devotee can embrace the Supreme Lord and even kiss his head also. So, in this way, Lord reciprocates, he allows, he agrees, and he is very happy with this loving relationship. Then finally, the fifth stage called Madhurya Rasa. There is a transcendental exchange of conjugal love between the love and the beloved. It is at this stage of the Krishna and the damsels of Raja glanced lovingly at one another. On this platform, there is an exchange of like glances, movements, the eyebrows, pleasant words, and attractive smiles. But the same thing, if it is done in the material world, it is the most abominable. Like, everything in the material world is actually the reflection from the spiritual world. Today, in these days, we keep seeing so many schools, college girls and boys, they also have this kind of glances and eyebrows and some pleasant words we keep, hearing. So this is actually mundane and this is abominable actually. This is uh, condemned in this material world, because in the spiritual world it is allowed, but not in this material world. Okay, so this is called Madhurya Rasa, and in this Madhurya Rasa also it has been divided into two categories. One is a Swakiya, the other is a Parakiya. So besides these primary rasas, there are 7 secondary rasas also there. So of course, when we have a deep study of the Krishna Tattva, the Acharyas have explained so much, like 64 qualities, 24 qualities, and devotees qualities. There are so many things. Okay, so we will move forward to explain. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also comments that um, ideal husband, like Krishna is the ideal husband. So like Lord Jagannatha remained 15 days in a secluded place with his wife. the supreme goddess of fortune. So nonetheless, the Lord wanted to come out of seclusion to give happiness to his devotees. The Lord enjoys himself in the two ways. One is Swakiya and also Parakiya. This Swakiya relationship is exchanged by the Lord with the queens of Dwaraka, because the Lord married officially, and he has constructed so many palaces for 16,108 queens. And he does family life with them. And when he exchanges this loving relationship, it is called Swakiya. But at the same time, Lord was there in Vrindavan, and Gopis, conjugal love with Gopis. He spent wonderful amorous pastimes in Vrindavan. But the Lord didn't marry them, and materially it looks like it is an offense. But the Lord, He knows. He exchanges relationship with at the soul level, not on the material level. But actually, we are unfit to discuss this topic. But however, Srila Prabhupada has given in his purports, to some extent we can understand. When we read Gita and Bhagavatam, we may not be able to understand, but whatever it is written is perfect. But since our senses are not perfect, we may not be able to understand. For this reason, we need to approach Vaishnava Acharyas, and we need to hear and we need to read the bona fide scriptures, then we can able to understand. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, therefore, he reminds us that Lord pleasure in Parakiya Rasa is superior to his pleasure in Swakiya Rasa. That means the loving relationship he exchanges with the wives is not higher than he exchanges with the gopis in Vrindavan. So in the material world, Parakiya or loving affairs with unmarried girls is actually most abominable, degraded relationship. But in the spiritual world, this type of loving affair is considered the supreme enjoyment, because the Lord does it. But if we do it, it is mundane. In the material world, everything is but a reflection of the spiritual world, and that reflection is perverted. We cannot understand the affairs of the spiritual world on the basis of our experience in the material world. Like if you from earthly planet, we cannot able to see the Goloka. Even if the so-called scientists, they have prepared big binoculars, and with the binocular we can able to see. No, it is a binocular itself is defective, because we come under four kinds of defects. So whatever we make, the gadgets and any other things, they become defective only. But when the Lord makes, it is 100% perfect. The Lord pastimes with the gopis are therefore misunderstood by mundane scholars and word wranglers. The Parakeya Rasa of the spiritual world should be discussed except by one who is very advanced in pure devotional service. The Parakeya Rasa in the spiritual world and that in the material world are not comparable. The farmer is like gold. So Lord's loving relationship is gold, but whatever relationship we imitate, it is called iron in this material world, because the difference between the two is very great. They cannot actually be compared. However, just as a knowledge person can easily distinguish gold from iron, one who has the proper realization can easily distinguish between the transcendental activities of the spiritual world from material activities. Okay. So in this way, the Lord exchanges all his relationships with the different kind of devotees. Just like now, say there is a person in this material world, and he has got different relationship with the different people. Say now there is one person in Bombay, but he is not native of Bombay. He is somewhere other outside Bombay. So he comes from that place and he works in Bombay, for example. So often he goes to his hometown, he meets his parents, and he has a Vachala relationship. At the same time, in his hometown, he meets his old friends, and he enjoys going swimming, bathing, and walking, playing. etc. But that rasa is different. So like that, in material world itself, if we can study, we have a different relationship with the different people, like old friends and old aunt, aunt and uncle, and also our teachers and our girlfriends. We also had that mundane love, our boyfriends, of course. So how does it happen, miss? It is just reflection from the spiritual world. So whatever we do is actually material. If we rightly place it in Krishna consciousness, then it is perfect. So in this way, the Lord being very lovable to each and everyone. So I'm just going to show you some slides so that you can have some kind of understanding how the Lord exchanges this kind of loving services. So this is called, can you able to see the pictures here?
Yes, Prabhu.
So the top one, see the bottom one, you see the Swakiya Rasa. The Lord officially marries the so many ladies, especially the Rukmini, Satyabhama, etc. And this is called Swakiya Rasa. And also before he got married, he rescued all these queens because they had been imprisoned by Narakasura. The Lord released them and they married them 16,100 wives. And he sports with them. He plays games with them. In this way, this type of rasa is called Swakiya because the Lord married all of them. But above this rasa is called Parakiya rasa. This Parakiya rasa, the Lord actually loves the damsels, but they are not married with Krishna. But however, the Lord, exchanges the relationship, but it's something, very difficult to understand. The same question asked by Parikshit Maharaj to Sukadeva Goswami. Then Sukadeva Goswami, he mentions that when the Lord, plays with them, it is only at the soul level. This on the soul platform, not on the material or bodily level. In this way, Lord performs, rasa dance, and also he meets the gopis now and then. And in this way, the Lord is very merciful because the soul does not have any gender also. Soul cannot be male or female. Soul is also Sachidananda Vigraha. The Lord is also Sachidananda Vigraha. But only difference is living entity, we have a individual status. The Lord also has got the individual status, and there is no question of merging, which Mayavadi people they say. Okay, so moving forward, these are the 5 transcendental rasas, mellows. And in the scriptures also, there are some devotees mentioned here. In the Santarasa, which is a neutral state, these 9 Yogendras, all these devotees will come into the Santarasa. Like 9 Yogendras, Antariksha, Prabuddha, Pipalayana, like that, Dravida. The 4 Kumar also come under these categories. And in Dasarasa, in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned like Raktaka, Chitraka, and Patraka, Daruka, and the Hanuman is very famous in Dasarasa. Even recently we had been to Jagannath Puri, their Bedi Hanuman temple is there. The Lord, made him chained so that he will not escape. So this is a Hanuman. Dasarasa. Sakyarasa, we have Sridama, Arjuna, Subala, Madhumangal, all these boys. In Vachala Rasa, you know very well, like Vasudeva and Devaki Devi, and Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda. Madhurya Rasa, again, there are 2 categories. Swakiya Rasa, with all the queens of Dwaraka. Parakiya Rasa, all the gopis, especially Radharani. Okay. So besides these 5 primary rasas, there are 7 secondary rasas also, which consist, laughing, wondering, chivalry, pity, anger, ghastliness, and devastation. Now, Srila Prabhupada gives 2 samples. For example, Bhishma related to Krishna as a warrior in the chivalrous rasa. He wanted to fight with the Lord. He wanted to, exchange that chivalrous rasa. So the Lord did it. Similarly, Hiranyakashipu, however, experienced an exchange of the ghastly and devastating rasas. So when we come to this Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya is, inaugurated the Sankirtan movement. So the Lord, in the form of, Radha and Krishna, he appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhyalila 25-71, it is mentioned that Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna, Nahi Anya. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a combination of one Radha Krishna. And when he exchanges that loving relationship in Dwapar Yuga, the same relationship he is here exhibited in the Kali Yuga by Sankirtan movement. So when we, all the devotees, when we do this Sankirtan movement, and when we also chant the holy name of the Lord very attentively, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Also, we can exchange that loving relationship with the Supreme Lord, but it needs a kind of maturity, guidance, and service for their lordships. They all matter. Okay, in this way, this Swakiya and Parakiya have been nicely elaborated by the Acharyas. So here I stop that. I'm exceeding the time. So thank you very much for patiently hearing. Granthiraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Hare Krishna. So if you have any questions or if you want to add, kindly unmute yourself and come on the video quickly. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Are you all awake? Are you all sleeping? Or you are somewhere in a different world?
ದಂಡೋತ್ ಪ್ರಣಾಮ್ ಪ್ರಭು.
Hare Krishna.
ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು ಇವತ್ತಿದ್ದು ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಕೀಯ ಪರಕೀಯ ರಸದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ. ಅದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ನನ್ಗೆ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಕೀಯ ರಸ ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ಸುಪೀರಿಯರ್ ಪ್ರಭು? ಸ್ವಕೀಯ ಪರಕೀಯ ರಸದಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ಸುಪೀರಿಯರ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ?
Parakiya rasa is superior because when we go on the street also, so others' wives, they look very beautiful, And for women also, other husbands, they also look very smart. So how does it happen? Means it is a reflection from the spiritual world. But the spiritual world, it is completely transcendental. And because all the relationships are on the soul level and not with the bodily level. But in the material world, the same is, most abominable. And it is highly punishable, and it is papa krutya. Actually, we are not supposed to do that. But the Lord does it, the soul level platform, and to deal all with the different kinds of devotees. That is called Parakiya, paramount. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Okay, we have done for the day.